Hello. This is going to be my seventh blog post of ED 455, and I wanted to begin by discussing what we discussed today and then kind of focus more on the movie that I saw tonight called American Promise. Um, First, I presented on Common Core today for my classmates in Manya, and I really tried to emphasize a couple of different things. One is the difference between NCLB and Common Core standards. Um, this was an initiative that kind of wanted to aid and help the problems that NCLB had created, and I really enjoyed reading about it because it helped me better understand what these new standards are aiming for and how they are different from just completely um, standard-based curriculum that NCLB has. So one is content focused, which I believe content focused, which is Common Core standards, and NCLB, which is which is standards. So it's standards based versus content based. Um, and this kind of goes back to the element of having Common Core standards, a process-focused curriculum and standardization, and that is how students learn versus what students learn. And so teachers need extra development on this plan because it takes a lot more energy, it takes a lot more focus, and it takes a lot more persistence from the teacher to really understand how children learn as opposed to what they learn and kind of the rote memorization of just learning. So that was quite effective in the sense that these are the ways to communicate how learners can use skills in a variety of problems rather than just fixing the problems. However, the negative side of Common Core standards is that it doesn't really affect inequality. It doesn't really address some of the inequalities, and it often stratifies students. Because if you, first of all, it's difficult for all students to meet those standards because students are on a different level playing field from when they begin school all the way up through it. So to demand standards across the board is assuming that some people just won't make it because, first of all, whether they're ELL learners, whether they're special ed learners, whether they're didn't have pre-K education learners. I mean, all these things go into it. And so I don't think that Common Core standards really deal with inequality very well, and that's kind of my major criticism. And then the last thing is one of the articles that I brought up was what's the effect of having so many school reforms? How many education reforms with NCLB, with Race to the Top, with Common Core? Are these just kind of band-aid aids that presidents can pull out of their pocket when things go bad in their presidency? It seems like that with Bush, with war in Afghanistan and Iraq, they kind of just pulled out No Child Left Behind, and then now with Race to the Top, it's like something that can't be fought on, and I mean the government can't be fought on, and then the fact of the matter is that they just don't have the conciseness, they don't have the implementation practices that it would take to use these good ideas. And what this showed me is that what is that going to do to a child? Is that going to negatively benefit a child if we keep trying to implement bad reforms as opposed to just taking one reform and keep critiquing it over and over again? And then with this movie that I realized that ed reform is necessary. Is that, we can't just keep the way it is. All schools are becoming more and more either segregated or academically superior and increasing stratification between students. I mean, in American Promise, there was many things that I wanted to discuss with the film, but you had a school that pretty much socially segregated. It felt for the kids socially segregated. All the black kids hung out with themselves, and I've heard this from a number of students from a number of different colleges, from a number of different grades. All Hispanic kids hang out with themselves, all Latina kids, all black kids, all special needs kids. For instance, it's just they create niches and there's no kind of cross collaboration between ethnic groups. But some other dichotomies that were brought up in American Promise that I just it was fun to grapple with was private versus public education, white versus black education, the degrees of prestige that colleges have, and what does it mean to students when they get rejected, and how does that work for students who feel rejected their entire lives up until this point as well, and it was incredibly emotional. It was really, for me, it was really sad to see our education system not only one pull and push out a kid completely out of their school because he wasn't performing and didn't want to take the time to help him. And second of all, it was really sad to see parent involvement have such a key role in a student's um, emotional well-being. Idris's parents is my example in this case, and that is that their constant demanding stress should be kind of a motivating factor for him not being able to perform as well, or for him to have pressure so that he does not feel good about himself, so that he doesn't embody a person who wants to work or a person who wants to study and learn. It was very sad to see that their constant nagging and constant battling with him led to more severe impacts than helped him, actually.